We've started the Whiskey Club, the Slàinte Scotch, the Whiskey Society is the name of it. We've got the Société du Vin, which is the wine club. We've got the Gin and Crib Club. We've got a culinary club that celebrates our amazing new chef, Joanna Astudillo. Her and her team has elevated the dining experience here. There's lots of opportunity for other clubs. It doesn't just have to be, alcohol and games. It could be, we had a partnership with the Calgary Philharmonic years ago. It could be a symphony club, or it could be, an art club where we make a partnership with Contemporary Calgary, for example. There's so many opportunities, and if you have an idea, I'd encourage you to reach out to management or a board member or another member and just bring it up.
It's Monday and time for the Back to Business podcast, featuring Calgary's industry leaders, insightful and inspiring conversations with founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and philanthropists who help shape our city. Heralding from the Calgary Petroleum Club, connecting Calgary's business leaders since 1948. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Kainai, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Eahe Nakota Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta. Welcome today's show host, Kim Hayden.
Today's guest is Ryan Ackers. Ryan is a small-town Ontarian who grew up in a town of 2,000 and relocated to Toronto for university before being moved to Calgary by a former company to launch a Western Canadian practice in 2014. Ryan currently holds the title of Vice President at Harbourfront Wealth Management, where he is responsible for acquisitions and integration of investment advisory team and wealth management firms. Ryan has held senior management roles with GBL, a national actuarial consulting firm, Ramstad, Canada's largest recruitment firm, and CIBC World Markets, where he began his career. In addition to Ryan's professional life, Ryan has had the honor of serving on the CPC's Board of Governors. He has served on the Board of National Charity and has held volunteer positions with his alma mater, the University of Toronto and Ivey Business School. Ryan does not work in the energy sector, and he enjoys whiskey. And of course, he had to join a private club focused on the energy sector, which also boasts one of the largest wine cellars in Western Canada. Ironically, Ryan saw this as an opportunity and launched the Scotch and Other Whiskey Society. Ryan is husband to Jennifer, a nurse who also enjoys the CPC, and father to Henrik, the first member of CPC's prestigious Cub Club, and expectant big brother in February 2023. Ryan and his family are all proud members of the CPC and always enjoy interacting with its membership. Welcome, Ryan, to the Back to Business. You're one of the people that actually had kind of a thought and a talk around this podcast. I'm super excited to have you on the show. Where I'd like to start, folks, is we want Ryan to tell us, who is Ryan first?
Who is Ryan? So I hailed from a small town in Ontario of 2,000 people called Sterling. My education took me to Toronto, so I went to the University of Toronto and started my career there. I've worked in the wealth management industry pretty much my entire life, with a few years in recruitment. Recruitment's actually what got me out to Calgary back in 2014, and I've worked in wealth management ever since. So I'm a board member here at the Petroleum Club. I volunteer with my alma maters. I've sat on boards of national charities. And obviously I enjoy whiskey.
And you're a husband?
I am. Husband, father.
And soon to be father 2 times.
Exactly, yeah.
This is very
February.
Cool. This is very cool. So you're not born Calgarian, so you're a transplant like myself. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about how your life, you believe, has grown and benefited from living in Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary's been very good to me and my family. So I moved here in 2014 from a city that I loved. to be honest. I loved Toronto, and I moved to Calgary. My previous company decided to move me out here, and I was excited to come out here. I'd visited previously, saw the entrepreneurial spirit of Calgary, thought it had a lot of really cool things happening, and it's been incredibly good to me and my family ever since. It's a place where, first off, it's a city that is growing exponentially in every way. So I've found that since I moved here in 2014, things like the restaurant scene have gotten so much better. A lot of really cool things happening, bars, you look at cafes, things like that. So it's been a really enjoyable place to be. And, it's less stressful than a lot of places in Canada, right? I think you mentioned in a previous podcast that Calgary was rated the #1 city in North America to live, and you can see why, right?
Yes.
It's just an easier place to do business and live a less stressful life.
I've heard other people say that although Calgary is well over 1 million people now, it still has that handshake, eye connection, get to know ya, small town feel. What has been your take on that? And how do you think that benefits you as somebody who's in wealth management, somebody who is an entrepreneur? No matter which way you shake it, you have to, if you don't create your wealth, you have no job, right? How does that play? What was your take on all that?
It was, so you're absolutely right on that. That's been my experience in Calgary. And that's been one of the critical factors of me being able to succeed here, is that personability, right? The fact that even despite a global pandemic that's been going on for the last few years, people still prefer to meet in person. And that's where the best deals happen. So yeah, it's a great place for anybody who moves here and is willing to go out and meet new people. You'll get a really warm welcome.
And you say warm. So warm connections. When we look at business, I want to dive a little bit into business because we know that Calgary's had a little bit of a bumpy patch from 2015, just with one of our primary industries being challenged nationally. But when we talk warm and get to know people. So there's a statistic, and I'm going to pull on the real estate statistic because it's the one I know inside and out. When we look at online lead generation, which was a space many of us were forced into from the pandemic, the online lead generation to conversion is abysmal. It is 0.4% to 1.2%. And yet when we look at real person conversion, it's like over 60%, right? So that's a significant difference in energy. Where are some of the places, or how do you go about getting those real person conversions for business here in Calgary?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Petroleum Club has been a great place to do that, not only to meet clients, right, or prospective clients. As oddly enough, as somebody who doesn't work in oil and gas, the Petroleum Club has been great for my business. But the Petroleum Club, you can go to industry events, right? You can go to Stampede. Right? You meet people everywhere, right, in Calgary. Yep. Some of the sports clubs and things like that. So it's just the city has a very good appetite to meeting new people and seeing, okay, how can I help you? How can you help me? Let's see if we can make it happen.
I would absolutely agree that it's a very welcoming place to come. I am shocked that there's not a welcome wagon like actual physical building with like cars that go out. I mean, I just remember the old welcome wagon from way back when, and I can just envision Calgary having one. Never mind. Skip that, folks. I just had like a creative moment there. But when we talk about welcoming new Calgarians and Calgarians alike and how you're getting out and meeting them, is there any central point that you found initially to even find the Petroleum Club, to find these opportunities? You first landed here. Who were you talking to? What were you Googling? What were you looking for?
Yeah, so what prompted me to join the Petroleum Club is the previous company that I worked with, they were members of another club in Calgary, and they recommended that in my role, I join that same club. And I thought to myself, well, if you're all at this club, doesn't it make more sense for me to go somewhere else and we can see if we can grow business from different clubs? And I came to the Petroleum Club, and my first event was one of the happy hours. And I couldn't believe how friendly people were. This is a club where I expected people to be friendly, but it had this reputation of being, at the time, a little bit stuffy, right? That's just what people on the street would say. And I got here, and that wasn't my experience at all, right? It was very welcoming, and people wanted to learn about me and what I did. They wanted to see how we could help grow each other's businesses, right? So it was just an incredibly welcoming place and a great spot for me to set up the future growth of my business. And oddly enough, the folks who were members of that other club ended up giving up their memberships there and coming here. Just because they saw the experience of the Petroleum Club and all the different initiatives that they took to elevate the club. Everything from the facility redesign.
Yes, let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
what are the shifts that you've seen since you've started here?
Well, since I started, so the facility enhancement was a big thing. And it just helped the feeling of atmosphere when you're in the club. The desire to have members come here on their own time as opposed to their company's time.
Yeah.
And just spend time here, meet other members, have fun, right? So we had the happy hours, those were expanded. The clubs within clubs, so that's where the wine club, the whiskey club, the gin and crib club started, the culinary club, things like that. And then looking at other things outside of the Petroleum Club as well, like let's make a deal with the Calgary Philharmonic. Let's make a deal with the Packwood Grand. Let's try to build relationships with these other organizations so they can benefit from us and we can benefit from them.
You also have a Cub Club or something like that.
We do.
Yes.
You heard about that?
Yeah. Well, I read it in your bio that
Yeah.
your Henrik was the very first official Cub Club. What is that?
So that's essentially, it's like a fun club for the kids of CPC members. So the future CPC members get to join. So I've got a cute little photo of him holding up his card when he was 4 months old, smiling.
That is interesting because I've actually talked to women who are in my age range. We're going to put that right out there, 50, that remember coming to the club as a child with their father and not even having restrooms for females. And those women are still carrying the perception that that's what the club is. So what is your role here in the club to counter those perceptions?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So I sit on the board of the club, which I think 50% of the board or more are women. The management team at the club are predominantly women as well. And my role is to, well, not just ensure that the club is being run efficiently and we're managing our risk, but also to make sure that the club is modern, right? So holding on to that history and that tradition, but also looking at things that we've done in the past to say, okay, let's see how we can modernize the club, right? So, it's a little known fact that the Petroleum Club was one of the first clubs in Canada, or at least Calgary, to change that rule of not allowing women to be members, right?
And
so
that's removing that kind of stigma, the old boys kind of space and such. I've been to many events here, and I'm always super excited because I didn't grow up here. I did not grow up with the perception of what it was, right, or misperception. Mm-hmm. I want to touch real quickly. So, we talk a lot about entrepreneurialism. And I want to bring this back around. And part of the reason why we talk about entrepreneurialism on this podcast is we want people to know that the club is not just if you are part of a oil company, that we're here to support entrepreneurs. One of the things I heard rumor, and I'm wondering if you can share or clarify or give me some idea on this, is that you're taking some of the look of you're adopting some of the shifts in how people are working and creating space to accommodate and encourage entrepreneurs to spend more of their time here. Can you share with me what you have on the go and what we can expect?
Yeah, it's one of the more exciting things I think is happening at the club now. So, I've had the pleasure of being to Silicon Valley, visiting San Francisco and the surrounding area. And one thing that struck me down there was every office tower has a coffee shop. And that coffee shop has benches where people can just come in and plug in their laptops and work and talk to the person next to them and just ask the question, well, what problem are you trying to solve? How can we help each other? Calgary is starting to shift toward that. When we look at buildings like the Ampersand or the Edison or Canada Place, the club has been doing this for some time as well. So we've got just on the second floor, we've got a coffee bar that's encouraged members to come and plug in their laptops and talk to each other, which has been successful for some members. I've spoken with some of them who've said they've met people who they just like to see or they can do business with. But we're looking to take that to the next level and transform one of our dining areas into a plug and play area where people can come in, members can come in, bring their guest and sit down, plug in, and do work and talk to each other. We just ordered new furniture, so we're updating.
Oh, so you're really doing it?
Oh, we're going straight forward. So we had some suggestions in a survey to ask members, what would you like to see in the club? And we had a suggestion about a sneaker wall. So we regret to say that we didn't move forward with the sneaker wall.
What is a sneaker wall?
So like a trophy wall with sneakers. So we regret to say that we didn't move forward with that, but we're updating a lot of the furniture to create a truly unique space in the club, somewhere that feels different, somewhere that feels more conducive to collaboration and just a funky place where you can sit down and do work with people you've never met before.
That is so cool. I'm super excited about that. Especially for those of us who are working from home, sometimes you need a break from home. Will we be sacrificing any of the, I know that you've got beautiful fireplaces in the rooms and we have the really rich walls and stuff. Is any of that being scrapped to make space for this, or is that being adopted into that space?
It'll be adopted into it. So we're looking forward to.
It's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be amazing. Yeah.
It's going to be amazing. And this would be for members then, eh?
Exactly. And guests that they decide to bring.
Oh, yes. I'm going to have so many friends now.
Yep.
This is awesome.
Same here, we're
Thank
good.
you. I've got friends. This is awesome. So I want to get from you as a wealth manager and a self-made person, truly self-made. What would be the top 3 tips you would give somebody? Let's say I'm going to build you an avatar. I'm going to challenge you here. Mm-hmm. Avatar is a young couple coming out of Toronto because the hope of buying a house there is nil. And so they know that they could probably do something. They need to get here because it's cost effective. Plus we have killer lifestyle. Mm-hmm. If you want to go out and hike or ski, you can. If you want to go to an incredible play, you can. If you want to hang at the library, you can. We've got you covered. We got everything. What would be the first 3 things that you would advise that couple to do to get up and running as quickly as possible in any entrepreneurial field here in Calgary?
So the first piece of advice I would give, and I didn't really realize that I have embodied this throughout my career, but there's a phrase that you hear that says, bet on yourself. Bet on yourself. And I thought, that's a great quote. It's inspirational. But am I ready to bet on myself? I don't think so, right? I realized this year that I was looking at betting on myself as starting a business and completely eliminating any employment with somebody else, just starting a business on your own. Betting on yourself doesn't mean you have to start your own business. It means taking calculated risks. and believing that you can do it. Don't be afraid to take those calculated risks. Growth comes from stepping out of your comfort zone. And if you're moving to Calgary, across the country, you've already taken this first step into doing that. So number one, bet on yourself. Number two, and I think there was a great quote with a previous podcast, I think with Kim Van Vliet, where she mentioned, when things look dark, keep pushing forward because good things will come. You know, and during the darkest times is where the best opportunities come, and persistence is going to help get you there. And the last piece of advice that I would give is don't be afraid to talk to people. Don't be afraid to meet people. Don't think that people are doing you a favor by talking to you. Always assume that people want to hear your story. They're here to learn about you just as much as you want to learn about them. It's a two-way street. So jump in head first, meet people. Worst case scenario, you don't click and you go your separate ways. And I like to say that about moving to Calgary as well. Think of it as a 3 to 5 year plan. Yeah. That's it. You're moving here for 3 to 5 years to see if things will be better here. You're moving here to advance your career. If it doesn't work out, you can always move back home, right?
Absolutely.
I've been here for almost 10 years, so clearly
yeah.
I'm a Calgarian now. So
we lived in Lakeshore Drive in Toronto. Was my first stop when I moved to Canada. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming to Calgary. I remember my husband saying, my husband's the type of person that he doesn't like to talk to everybody at the bank. But he had come here to start getting things set up and then flew back to Toronto. And he looks at me and goes, oh, Kim, you're going to love it. It's like the land of the Care Bears. Even the people at the bank talk to you. Boy, I make him sound crusty, don't I? And that was 30 years ago or 20 years ago. So, you know, it really is a great place and space to develop your next chapter, to grow your legacy. What have I missed, Ryan? You have so many cool things that you want to share. What would you like to talk on? I have led this completely. What have I missed? Well, your wife Jen, we got to give her a huge shout out.
Shout out.
She's birthing boys for you. She deserves a medal, right?
Yeah, she's an amazing nurse. The reason I'm still here in Calgary. You'll see her around the club with my son Henrik and our second child, who will be born in February. So.
Yeah, you can't tell us the name yet?
We haven't quite decided, so we think we have the name, but we're still reserving the right to change it. So.
Just don't call Elon Musk. You'll have to.
We'll try
huge equation. You never remember with a kid. You just say, "I'll start calling him two."
Just keep an eye out in the Cub Club. You'll see his name in there. So.
Well, Ryan, I really appreciate your time, and I guess I want to close this one more question for you on. And this is from the wealth management perspective and entrepreneurship. Somebody's coming here, decent enough credit, got a little bit of money. Where could they go? Who could they speak to? What are the opportunities in Calgary to raising seed money or, joint ventures or anything like that? What are the opportunities that Calgary's offering that's uniquely Calgarian? Yeah,
so there's so much. So if you've got it depends on the organization, the size of the company, EBITDA, all that. But we've gotten a lot of attention from investment organizations around Canada, around the U.S., around the world. Plug and Play Alberta is fantastic. They're based in the Ampersand. You've got Platform. You've got all these organizations that are going to help you not only get funding, but help you grow your business, help you develop your best practices and all that. When it comes to an existing business, I work with a company called Harbourfront Wealth Management. And my focus is, acquisitions of $100 million books of business from advisors or entire firms, investment firms. We don't focus on financing. So we look at companies like ATB or CWB, local companies or even some of the big five banks, right? So it depends on what stage your business is at. That'll determine what the best fit is. But there's a whole array of options in Alberta. It's really amazing how far we've come in the past, even 3 years.
Right? I would have to agree. I believe that we took a negative global phenomenon and turned it into a true opportunity for the city and for the people who want to make the city their home or are already here. Okay, so Ryan, you launched a club here in, I guess what Calgary Petroleum Club has the largest like wine cellar, and that wasn't good enough for you. So talk about your club, Whiskey Club, correct?
That's right.
And run us through, how you got it launched, how you got it approved, how much you love it.
Yeah.
And what has been your gain from stepping in and volunteering your time and starting something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this all came out of one of those happy hours. So a non-oil and gas or non-energy whiskey drinker joined an energy club that focused on wine that has one of the largest wine cellars in Western Canada. So I was asked at one of the happy hours. So you'd think that isn't the best match, but it turned out to be a pretty good opportunity. So I was asked by a board member at a happy hour to start a whiskey club. And there were challenges in the beginning. So first off, getting members, to be aware of it, getting them interested, showing them that it's worthwhile compared to all the competing whiskey events in the city, being from retailers, festivals, you name it. So what actually worked in our favor was the fact that we were the only whiskey club at the Petroleum Club. Well, being a wine club, there's a lot of different types of wine tastings. So we're able to develop a critical mass pretty quick of loyal members. So we had to ask ourselves, how do we want to do this, right? So how are we going to charge people? Are we going to charge as a pay-as-you-go? Well, that's great. It's less, you're not asking members to pay a big fee up front, but you also don't have that, you don't have that guaranteed attendance at every event if you do pay-as-you-go. Or do we do the exact opposite and do an annual membership, which is great because you know that you've got all your events, you've got your money for them, your members are more likely to show up, but they might not be as likely to pay a big fee up front every year. So we deliberated and then we decided, why don't we do both? So we offer members the opportunity to come pay as you go. And we also offer a VIP membership for $75 a year that gets the members all these benefits, a whole list of benefits that completely punch above their weight compared to that $75 fee. Discounts at whiskey retailers.
Our producer's over there nodding his head yes.
Yeah.
It was actually the Whiskey Club was actually the reason our producer wanted to join the club.
Happy to hear that.
With the Whiskey Club, one of the things that I noticed, and am I correct in this, that when you go out in the plus 15, which is great, you can park underground, you go up in the plus 15, and you can walk over here and get into CPC. There is a liquor retailer there that offers discounts of some sort. Is that who came up with that idea?
So that was us. So
that was you.
We reached out. So that retailer, Co-op World of Whiskey, was the first retailer that we worked with, and they've been integral in our success. We've since expanded to a number of different retailers as well, just to offer members who might live in different parts of the city different benefits. So we offer discounts at those retailers. We offer discounts on whiskey at the club. We offer discounts on events. So pretty quickly you get that $75 back that you pay for that VIP membership. But we've taken it to a much more impressive level. And I don't mean just us as the committee, but the entire membership that made it possible, where we started branding our own glassware. We thought, what?
I saw that. Very cool.
Thank you. Yeah. So we thought that'd be the coolest thing if we had the CPC logo on a whiskey glass, a Glencairn glass. So we did that first year. And we thought, okay, it'd be nice to have a stretch goal of eventually importing our own private casks. But we did that in year 2 because we got so much interest. So now every year, as you're aware, we import a private cask and our members get exclusive access to it. So we've done that. We've gotten interest from distilleries around the world. We've gotten interest from bloggers around the world. So our little whiskey club hasn't put the CPC on the map. The CPC has always been on the map.
Yeah.
But it's put the CPC on the map with this demographic across the world. And now
Exactly.
we're looking at doing whiskey tours, and because we're buying casks, we've got some influence, right? If we show up, we get a bit better of an experience than a lot of other folks, right? Because we buy whiskey. So
Where do you buy a cask from?
so we work through agents, or we can work through retailers, right? So most recently, we worked directly with a distillery in Victoria, Macaloney's Island Distillery, for this year's release. But we worked through Co-op World of Whiskey to bring that in.
What's your favorite whiskey?
Tough question.
Tough question.
All of it?
Is it all of it?
Yeah, right now I'm really impressed with Canadian whiskey.
Okay.
So I've always traditionally enjoyed Scottish whiskey, and Canadian whiskey has just gone parabolic.
Canadian spirits have actually, in all fields, gin, all of it, we're seeing taking award after award after award globally.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's because we sit in the dark 6 months out of the year and we need something to do, which is either make it or drink it. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff happening. And we see, I think it was Akbar. He's part of your club, but a pretty avid fan of your club, is my understanding. We're hearing people talking about this club, so that is very cool. Is there opportunity at CPC how would somebody, if they wanted to start a club through CPC, is there other kind of niches that you think that could be served well here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've started the Whiskey Club, the Slàinte Scotch and Other Whiskey Society is the name of it. We've got the Société du Vin, which is the wine club. We've got the Gin and Crib Club. We've got a culinary club that celebrates our amazing new chef, Joanna Astudillo. Her and her team has elevated the dining experience here. There's lots of opportunity for other clubs. It doesn't just have to be, alcohol and games. It could be, we had a partnership with the Calgary Philharmonic years ago. It could be a symphony club, or it could be, an art club where we make a partnership with Contemporary Calgary, for example. There's so many opportunities, and if you have an idea, I'd encourage you to reach out to management or a board member or another member and just bring it up.
Well, and with the upcoming reutilization of some of the spaces to be more beneficial or more accessible for people in business, I could even see where there's some leadership opportunities within business, clubs or not business clubs, but business education opportunities like lunch hour learning, like, lunch and learn. I could totally see that happening with this new space, because if there's so many things that are going on, folks. So many things. My mind is going 110 miles an hour, Ryan. I'm going to go home and write an entire synopsis on the top 10 ideas that I would love to see here at the Petroleum Club. But overall, I have to say, this is the coolest experience I've ever had.
The world is changing, and it's happening faster than ever. Businesses and people are adapting, but nobody can do it alone. Maybe it's easier for Burnett, Duckworth, and Palmer to keep up because they have always been nimble and brought creative thinking to the way they practice the law. BD&P best understands your industry and your business because Calgary is their home too. They're not just legal advisors, they are true partners. They've been called unconventional, and they think that makes the firm better partners to their clients for now and for the future. Meet your legal match at bdplaw.com. Your partners for a brilliant future.
Thank you for joining us today on the Back to Business podcast. Be sure to visit calpeteclub.com, calpeteclub.com, to find out more about upcoming events, networking opportunities, and membership. If you are not already a valued member at the CPC, where we are proudly connecting and supporting Calgary's business leaders.